Yikes. You kind of gave me a scare. I thought you were asleep. You're not asleep? Why aren't you asleep? It's very late. I'm sorry I'm late coming to bed. I had a lot of stuff to finish up. You can't sleep. Well, that's not good because you have to get up very early tomorrow. Why? What's going on? Something on your mind? You just can't sleep. Well, I guess I showed up just in time then. Because you know what that means. That means I have to put you to sleep. How did you know? Yes, I think it could be time for a long, boring story. You want a long, boring story? Okay, I could tell you a long, boring story. See if I can stay awake for it, too. Okay, first, let's get you tucked in. Get you all cozy. Okay, are you warm enough? Okay, are you cozy? Okay, good. All right, a long, boring story. Let me see if I can think of a long, boring story. Something exceptionally boring. You got to give me a second. I wasn't prepared. Oh, very funny. Do I? I have a lot of boring stories. Okay, well, see if I can come up with another one. Let me think. Oh, I am. I'm very tired too. Okay, here's one for you. Okay, come here. Cuddle close. All right, so when I first moved out of my parents' house, I moved in with my brother. And we had this crappy little apartment. It was really small. And it was a weird apartment, too, because from the outside, it looks like just a house. So I think what somebody wound up doing is they just took this fair-sized house and they just kind of sliced it up into these puny little apartments. And the walls were like paper thin. Like you could literally, if somebody was watching TV in the apartment next to you, you could hear it. It was that, like the walls were that thin. So we lived there. I lived there with him for I think about a year. And we had to be, like you had to be quiet all the time. We had this grumpy old lady who lived in the unit or apartment or whatever you want to call it next door to us, like right on the other side of the wall. And she didn't like any noise at all. Like even if you talked too loud, she'd be banging on the wall. Keep it down, keep it down. So we're two musicians and we like to listen to music. Now we were also dead broke. So we didn't even have what you would call like a real sound system. So we devised our own. So what we had was we had this beat up old reel-to-reel tape machine. And we couldn't afford to buy records or anything like that. So we would go to friends' houses and we'd bring this big, huge tape machine. We'd take turns. Sometimes I would do it. Sometimes he would do it. But we'd bring this thing to people's houses and we'd run a line out of their stereo and we'd record whatever songs we wanted or whatever albums we wanted to this tape machine. And we had like 2 boxes of tapes of all the stuff we wanted to listen to. But we couldn't make any noise. So we took the tape machine and we ran it into this really crappy little guitar amp that we had. And I mean, it was crappy. It was really small, had very little power, no real tone control on it. It was just whatever you put in is what came out. And we had it. This apartment had like a fake fireplace. It wasn't a real fireplace, but it kind of looked like one. And it was sort of set back a little bit so you could pretend that you could put, logs or whatever in there. But I mean, it was probably only maybe 6 inches deep. So we took this guitar amp, because it had no bass at all, and we would tilt it into the fireplace, and you would get sort of some kind of bass, because the little concave part would sort of amplify whatever lack of bass came out of this amp. But the thing was, you couldn't turn it up at all. If you put this thing above like the level of a quiet voice, bang, 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 bang on the wall, turn it down. So we used to sit there and we'd huddle around this thing. We'd just be like, we'd be right up to it so you could hear it. And we'd sit there and we'd talk for hours and we'd listen to, this album, that album. We'd just put on whatever we felt like listening to. And even when we were playing, if we wanted to play guitar together, we'd basically have to take 2 electric guitars and not plug them in. Electric guitars are very quiet if you don't plug them in. So we'd sit there right across from each other. We're playing. We can't make any noise. And this place was pretty funny too. There was a lot of interesting characters around. Now, funny enough, while I was living there, there was a donut shop across the street. And we used to go there. You get a really bad coffee, get a half-stale donut, because I don't think they really made them. I think they got delivered. And then, if they sat there overnight or for a day or two, they would just sell them till they were gone. Fresh? What's that? Now, one day, without any notice at all, I came home and I was going to walk into this donut shop and get a stale donut and a bad coffee. And I walk up to the door and it's locked. That's unusual. Like, it was open 24 hours a day, so I go into my brother's place and I said, "Hey, I went to the donut shop and the door was locked." And he said, "Yeah, they shut it down." I said, "What do you mean?" "Oh, I guess they went out of business or something, so they're gone." Wow. I was like, well, that's too bad, because I actually kind of liked it. I actually kind of liked the stale donuts and the terrible coffee. So a couple of days go by, and there's no sign of action in there at all. But there's still donuts in there. They had like the display of donuts, and there were still donuts in there. So we probably got a little too stoned one night, and we kept joking, like, we have to free the donuts. The poor donuts. We have to free these donuts. So we made up a sign. It was a petition, and it said at the top, it said, "Free the donuts," in big letters. And then we put about 15 fake signatures for our petition. And we went over and we taped it on one of the big windows. And we left it. We thought it was funny. We forgot all about it. Within a week, we had about 200 signatures to free the donuts. Nobody ever freed the donuts, though. Eventually, they came in and they turned it into something else. But the poor donuts, nobody ever freed them. But we thought it was pretty funny that we got a lot of signatures to help free the donuts. I mean, think about it. Those poor donuts. Now, my question is, would you have gone over and signed the petition for the donuts? Are you asleep? Another successful boy.